There is a massive frozen continent almost the size of the US and Mexico combined, and 7 countries claim parts of it. 3 of them, the UK, Chile, and Argentina, are fighting over the same slice, and 1 country, Australia, claims nearly half the entire continent. But here's the catch. No one is allowed to own it. No one can mine it. No one can even build a military base on it. Welcome to Antarctica, the only continent where you can plant a flag, but can't actually do anything with the land. Beneath Antarctica's endless ice lies something far more valuable than snow and penguins. A hidden vault of untouched resources, something incredibly valuable. And it could become one of the richest treasure zones on Earth. So, why do so many countries claim it? And if they can exploit it, what's the point? Because behind the icy silence of Antarctica lies a high-stakes geopolitical waiting game. A frozen conflict where today's science may be tomorrow's strategy. And time is running out. The Antarctic Treaty, the agreement that has kept the peace for over 60 years, faces a potential review in 2048. We need to understand the system that locked an entire continent in legal ice, and why, even though no one can touch it, the world's biggest powers are quietly racing to claim it. Because according to some, what's hidden beneath the ice isn't just resources or territory, but evidence of something not from this world. Or maybe something straight out of science fiction, whispered by conspiracy theorists for decades. Welcome to The Real Central. I'm your host, Josh Gultam, and this is the place where we dive into the most unique and unexpected stories from all around the world. If it's strange, surprising, or just downward fascinating, we're talking about it here. We are a new channel, so please subscribe to our channel and comment anything down below to push our channel higher. Thank you so much, guys. Let's continue to the video.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pride that I participated.
The Great Pyramid is arguably the most enigmatic structure on the face of the Earth.
Back in 1959, at the height of the Cold War, something remarkable happened. 12 countries, including the US and the Soviet Union, agreed to set aside their rivalries and sign the Antarctic Treaty. It was a global truce over the coldest, most remote place on Earth. The deal was simple, but powerful. No new territorial claims, no military activity, and no commercial exploitation. Antarctica would be used only for peace and science. That's it. And in 1991, the world doubled down. The Madrid Protocol added a strict ban on mining and resource extraction. No digging for oil, no hunting for minerals. At least not until 2048, when the rules can legally be reviewed. Until then, even if a country owns the biggest slice on the map, they can't drill a single hole unless it's for research. So what does this mean in practice? It means countries still keep their claims, but those claims are frozen in time. They're allowed to run scientific research stations, fly their flags, and set up weather observatories, but they can't enforce borders or kick anyone out. Even countries without claims, like China and India, are free to build stations on land technically claimed by someone else. And the United States, it doesn't claim any land, but it runs some of the biggest operations on the continent. McMurdo Station is basically a small town, capable of housing over 1,000 people during the summer. Amundsen Scott sits directly at the South Pole, and Palmer Station gives the US access to the Antarctic Peninsula. All 3 are run by the National Science Foundation. But behind the science, there's a powerful support system, military logistics. Every summer, Air National Guard planes, ski-equipped LC-130s, fly in with supplies, fuel, and personnel. They replaced Navy operations from the Cold War era, like Operation Deep Freeze. The treaty allows military tools for peaceful support, but the lines are thin. On paper, Antarctica looks like a geopolitical minefield. In reality, it's the most peaceful continent on Earth. But that peace comes with a catch, because every base, every research trip, every icebreaker that sails south, it's all being watched, tracked, calculated, not for today, but for what might come after 2048.
On Russian terms.
И записка по вопросу о заключении мирного договора с Германией и урегулировании на этой основе вопроса о Западном Берлине.
In most parts of the world, competition means borders, armies, and economic deals. But in Antarctica, it's all about science. Since countries can't build military bases or claim land by force, they compete through something much softer: research. Antarctica has become the world's most high-stakes science fair. Countries pour millions into building and maintaining research stations, not just to study penguins or ice cores, but to show they belong. It's the closest thing to legal territory building they're allowed to do. And here's the twist. Even countries with no official claims are setting up shop in areas owned by others. China has built bases inside the Australian claim. India has a station near Norway's territory. The US built one right at the South Pole, which is technically part of several overlapping claims. But no one can stop them because the treaty allows scientific operations anywhere. This creates a weird situation where your name might be on the map, but someone else is living in your house. In this game, activity means legitimacy, and legitimacy could become leverage. So if one day the rules change, if the mining ban is lifted, or the treaty breaks down, the countries with the biggest footprint on the ground will already be in position. They're not just doing research, they're quietly marking space. Let's be real. No one's spending hundreds of millions on logistics, icebreakers, and year-round bases just to count penguins. What countries really want lies beneath the ice. Antarctica is sitting on an untapped vault of natural resources. Rare earth minerals, copper, iron ore, even potential oil and gas reserves beneath the Southern Ocean. Some estimates suggest that if extraction were allowed, Antarctica could become one of the richest mining zones on Earth. Then there's the ocean. Antarctic waters are home to highly valuable fisheries, especially krill and toothfish, which power billion-dollar industries. For example, Russia has openly called Antarctica its main krill fishing ground. Others, like China and South Korea, are expanding their fleets to secure their share. But here's the problem. Under the current treaty system and the Madrid Protocol, all commercial exploitation is banned until 2048. That's the year when countries can call for a review of the ban. And guess what? They're already preparing. China and Russia are quietly surveying the land, mapping the geology, and building infrastructure near potential hotspots. Even though mining is illegal, countries want to be ready, just in case the law changes. This isn't about today. It's about positioning for the day after the rules are rewritten. And once that door cracks open, the race for Antarctica's riches could begin.
Antarctica, the world's southernmost and iciest continent, holds abundance of hidden minerals and energy sources. According to a report, Russia has found vast oil and gas reserves.
Right now, three major players are shaping the future of Antarctica: China, Russia, and the United States, along with their allies. Each one has a different strategy, but the goal is the same: control without conflict. China is the most aggressive newcomer. In just a few decades, it's built 5 permanent Antarctic stations, with a 6th under construction. Its latest base, Chinling Station on the Ross Sea, sits on an ice-free coast and includes satellite dishes and comms gear. Officially, it's for science, but analysts warn it could double as a surveillance post, tracking satellites and monitoring Allied signals in the region. And China isn't slowing down. In 2025, it announced plans for another station near Marie Birdland, one of the only unclaimed regions left. On paper, it's peaceful research, but in practice, it's positioning for the future, securing space, data, and long-term access. Russia, meanwhile, is leaning into its legacy. The Soviets were among the original explorers, and today, Moscow is reviving old bases like Ruskaya, shuttered after the Cold War, now being rebuilt into year-round complexes with runways and modern labs. Russia also views Antarctica as a key fishing ground, and its state media openly discusses resource potential. The message: Russia plans to stay. Then there's the United States, still the biggest power in Antarctica, with massive stations like McMurdo and Amundsen Scott. These aren't military bases, but they depend on military support. Every year, U.S. Air National Guard crews fly LC-130s into Antarctica to deliver everything from medical supplies to heavy equipment. It's all legal. The treaty allows military tools for science, but it blurs the line. Some insiders say it also opens the door for dual-use assets, like radar and communication gear that could serve intelligence needs. And while America's footprint is big, it's not immune to pressure. Budget cuts have led to canceled upgrades and reduced operations at key stations. If the trend continues, the US could lose its edge. Allies like the UK and Australia try to hold the line, maintaining bases, supporting the treaty, and advocating for environmental protection. But even they've warned, if China and Russia keep expanding and the West keeps cutting, the balance in Antarctica could quietly shift. This isn't a war, not yet, but it's definitely a race.
The South China Sea would not put military capabilities on the islands that it's building there, and it clearly went against that. So the worry is the same would happen here.
Some places hide their secrets, but Antarctica dares you to find them. A land frozen in silence, shielded by treaties and wrapped in science. But beneath that calm lies something stranger. Strange enough to spark rumors. Quiet no-fly zones, mysterious disappearances, and lights in the sky. For all the rules, treaties, and inspections, Antarctica still holds secrets. Over the years, whispers have grown. Some of it sounds like science fiction. But in a place this remote, with this much silence, even the faintest rumor can echo for decades. Let's start with the no-fly zones. Around the South Pole, certain areas are off-limits to pilots, even military crews. Officially, these zones protect sensitive scientific instruments, like ozone monitors or atmospheric balloons. But some flight crews say they were never given full explanations, just coordinates to avoid, and consequences if they didn't. One of them is a man known only as Brian, a former US Navy flight engineer who served in Antarctica from the 1980s to the late 1990s. He flew LC-130 transport missions with the Antarctic Development Squadron, known as VXE-6. In 2015, he wrote a detailed letter describing what he saw and what he wasn't supposed to talk about. According to Brian, there was a small no-fly zone near the pole, officially labeled an air sampling station. But during a medical evacuation flight in 1985, his crew accidentally flew over it. What they saw below was not normal. A massive hole, nearly 300 feet wide, opening into the ice. Large enough, he said, for their aircraft to fly into. Moments later, their instruments failed. Communications went dark. When they got back to McMurdo, they were interrogated by officials from Washington, then ordered to say nothing. The pilot was pulled from flight duty. That wasn't the only story. Brian said that during the 1995-96 season, he and his crew spotted 4 or 5 silver discs flying over the trans-Antarctic mountains, glowing, silent, moving at speeds no aircraft should. His pilot's only words? That's not ours. And then there's the one that still haunts him. On a routine drop near Marie Birdland, Brian's crew left a group of scientists with gear and supplies. 2 weeks later, they returned, but the camp was empty. Radios were on, tents still pitched, food untouched. The team was gone. A week later, the scientists reappeared, shaken, silent, refusing to explain. Their equipment was sealed. They were flown out immediately under escort. None of these stories have been officially confirmed. There are no photos, no public documents, just eyewitness accounts, told years later. Maybe it's not just about oil and rare ores. Maybe these nations know something deeper, something most of us would call it science fiction. Because here's the truth. This is a continent where even known history is laced with military missions, nuclear experiments, and forgotten expeditions. There are warm volcanic caves under Mount Erebus, ice formations that shift and collapse without warning, and hundreds of square miles that no civilian has ever seen. So, is there a secret base under the ice? Alien contact? A hole to somewhere else? Probably not. But the rumors keep flying, because Antarctica doesn't just hide secrets, it invites them. Antarctica is one of the last places on Earth untouched by war, by industry, and by permanent human settlement. And yet, it may be one of the most valuable places on the planet. Right now, it's locked in a fragile peace, a peace held together by treaties, science, and shared ideals. But underneath that ice, literally and politically, pressure is building. Countries are claiming land they can't use. They're building bases they don't admit are strategic. They're mapping resources they legally can't extract. And they're doing all of it under the flag of peaceful research. And then there are the rumors. Whispers of no-fly zones near the South Pole. Glowing discs seen over remote mountain ranges. Even tale of missing research teams in the wide silence. None of it confirmed. But in a place where the ice can hide anything, the line between speculation and suspicion is razor thin. This is the paradox of Antarctica, a place everyone wants but no one can touch. For now, because in just 2 decades, the world will face a choice. Will it protect Antarctica as a global commons? Or will it break the ice and start dividing the spoils? That's why today's claims, even if they seem symbolic, are not meaningless. They're bets on the future, and when the treaty melts, the nations that stayed quiet but built boldly will be first in line. So the next time you see a frozen research station with a lonely flag flapping in the wind, remember, it's not just science, it's strategy. And the real game is only just beginning. If you like this video and want to see more deep dives into more unique content, don't forget to subscribe. We've got more coming sooner or later. I'm your host, Josh Gultom. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.